Out here, live with Zac Barnes,
So
the one
fun.
and only.
Oh, stop.
I know him as Z Money. I'm just kidding. Nah, man, this is a brand new thing that we're doing. Just going live. Just wanting to talk shop, talk music, and just share all the good things that come from our musical brains and just our musical conversations, man. And it's really just to serve as a place for you all to get further inspiration from us and for us to get some further inspiration from you. So today's topic, today's subject is going to be musical success as a musician. What does that look like? How do we achieve it? Is it a one size fits all kind of thing? Is it multifaceted? Are there multiple lanes to achieve success as a musician? So those are all the things that we're gonna try to cover in this half an hour or so of time tonight.
Man.
So,
Take.
uh,
Wow.
Zach, I'm gonna pose the question to you, man. What does success as a musician look like?
Oh, that is. So you talk about one size fits all. This is exactly the opposite of that. This is not one size fits all. Success as a musician. We talked about this in the other episode. What is it, first of all? What does it even mean to be a musician? I think that's number one. It's just defining for yourself what does it mean to be a musician. And if I could have any opinion about it, I want to let people know there's a difference between being a professional musician and being a musician. And being a professional musician sits underneath the whole umbrella of being a musician. So it doesn't matter if you're on tour, if you play in church, if you don't play, you could just have a keyboard in your house. If you play it consistently, you're a musician, in my opinion, right? You're just somebody who loves to speak the language of music. So that right there should take a lot of pressure off people's shoulders of like what success looks like because for you, you know, like for one person, being a musician successfully might just mean like, hey, I can play my favorite songs.
Mm-hmm.
Another person might be, hey, I create my own music. For another person, it might be, hey, I like to learn video game pieces. You know, like I
Yeah.
learned new Final Fantasy scores, right? So, and for another person, it might be, hey, I want to make a living off of this. And I think that's the different where pro comes in mind is like, okay, pro is more of a skill set, but like, I don't know. I think success is just like whatever happiness you find in that realm of music. So whether it be, beat making, piano playing, playing all the instruments, working for someone doing a top 40 tour as an artist, like all those are very viable and I will different degrees of viability there actually, but all those are legit avenues of being a musician. And I don't think you should let social media or somebody make you feel that if you're not doing it in their way that somehow it makes it disingenuous or devalues that. So that's my long-winded take on it because I feel like it's a touchy subject sense of I know you've seen like a lot of people, they just have such a one-track mind of that. I'm just like, music is so much more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, you said a lot that we could make an episode each for each one of those things that you said. But yeah, I remember. So I started playing piano when I started taking lessons when I was 7, and from that first time that I learned my first song, Chopsticks or Mary Had a Little Lamb, whatever it was, to me as a kid, that was success, right? I wanted to do this thing. I wanted to learn to play this instrument, even at the most basic level. That was success to me. And so as I got older, my goals changed, right? So when I was hitting these goals, those were newer successes. I was finding successes along the way as a musician. I was learning harder music. I made the audience stand and clap instead of just sitting and kind of golf clap. You know what I mean? As I got better, as I started to sound better, um, I started getting paid for gigs. Right? These are things, little benchmarks that I set for myself. These are goals that I wanted to hit, and since I hit them, those were successes. Right? So you could arguably just say he was finding success as a musician. He was a successful musician. And so I would encourage you to do the same. Like, even if they are just small goals, like I want to learn to play in more than just one key by the end of this month. That is success as a musician, right?
Please do
Just,
that.
yeah, man. And I'll say this, like, there are people who are professional musicians, professional, and I'll just kind of give it this umbrella term, professional meaning you are paid for your skill. You are paid for this thing that you are able to do. Professional musicians that cannot confidently play in all keys. That's fine, right? That's not a measure of their success. At least not to us. Maybe it is for them. Maybe they're kicking themselves behind the scenes, like, oh man, I wish, man, I screwed up. You know what I mean? But objectively, they have found success in their own careers. So I would encourage you to do the same, right? Just like Zach was saying, the steps along the way, the goals that you have set for yourself, those ought to be uh, reasons for you to clap for yourself.
Yes.
Zach, for you, what have been some of your successes? Tell us a little bit. Give us like a 1 minute recap or introduction for those of you who don't know Zach. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, your musical background to where you are today.
Yeah. So, name is Zach. Obviously, I started playing music when I was like 5. Clarinet and trumpet were my first instruments, and so I didn't start playing piano until about 19 because my sister was a classical pianist, and she ridiculously, monstrously just talented. And so
Mhm.
I was like, there's no need for me to ever touch piano. So I played sax, I played drums, I played clarinet, you know. And then when I got to college, they didn't need a sax player in jazz combos. They needed a piano player. And I was like, you know what? I'll try it. I was complete ass. It was trash. But lots of practice room time. And then fast forward, here I am now. Um, my dad, jazz guy, so I grew up with a lot of like bebop and swing in my ears. Um, and then I didn't really get introduced to gospel until like 2010. So same around the same time that I started playing piano was like around the time I got introduced to gospel. So it's funny though because a lot of people classify me as a gospel musician. And it's funny because it's such a newer thing. I didn't like I grew up in church, but it wasn't. I mean, man, I grew up on both sides. Like
Right.
started off in like a Pentecostal situation, and around 5 or 6, my dad took us out just because there's like a bunch of hooligans going on, and then when we went back, it was complete opposite. Everybody was white. We were the only black family. They had no drum set, no piano player. It was a guitar player, a shaker, I mean, it was just a complete polar opposite. And then after that church, I went to a Nigerian church,
Oh wow.
which is not gospel, right?
Yeah.
So the guys beating the drum heads to the point they have holes in them. Everyone's got their head wraps. The accents are so thick. So, like my church experience, I didn't have the traditional gospel experience until I got into college. So, as a kid, it was like gospel Pentecostal, and then like as a young kid, and then I think when we went back to church, it was like I was like around 10 or 11, and then from there to about 15 was like complete white land, and then from like 16 to 21 I was in Africa. So I had a very diverse,
Yeah.
very, I mean, the church was so African that the pastor had to call out the members for to say not to stop hating on black people. That's
Wow.
how Nigerian this church was. They was like, stop looking down on black folk. That's
That's crazy.
yeah. So I had a very interesting church experience because I was exposed to a lot of I mean, you can't. I mean, shoot, Pentecostal to no drummer, no
Yeah.
piano player. It was 4 people, a guy playing guitar, and 3 singers,
Yeah.
and then Nigeria. So it's like you just couldn't make that. It's just so it's all over the place. Anyways, that was way longer than 1 minute. Clearly stuck with that.
It's all good.
But
Yeah. How do you what are some of the successes for yourself that you've experienced along the way?
uh, so I will say one of the benefits of that kind of sporadic, eclectic upbringing was the exposure,
Hmm.
and it's a success that I didn't even realize till I got older. But my ear just got a chance to hear a lot of different things, and so
Hmm.
when people hear me play, one thing I've gotten consistently, and I used to actually resent this about myself. I didn't sound like anybody else, and it was frustrating because I never fit in musically. And then as I got older and started doing more gigs, I got a lot of comments like, man, you know, Zach, I played a lot of piano players, but no one sounds like you. And that's probably my favorite success to this day is just the fact that a lot of musicians that I respect and love my sound and be like, Zach, when you play, I know it's you. I'm like, man,
Yeah,
that means a lot. So I think for me, that is like the greatest success I could hold as a musician is just knowing that I have my own identity.
that's awesome. That's awesome, man. So yeah, I was. We just got off of another shoot, Zach and I remember when I first came across Zach's content. It was on Instagram, and I remember thinking like, dude can flow, dude is smooth. Like, I come from the world of classical music. I got into the contemporary scene, um, you know, 15 years ago. And so I've heard a lot of keyboard players on, I say keyboard, meaning piano, organ, synthesizer, various types of keyboard instruments. And Zach definitely, like, he that was so spot on. Like, he is recognizable. And Zach, I never even told you this, but a buddy of mine who I used to gig with, he's since moved away. But I remember we were just off of a rehearsal. I pull out my phone. He's waiting to leave, and I'm just scrolling through Instagram, and one of your reels came up, and I started playing it. And my buddy was like, "Hey Dion, is that guy from Instagram? Is that Zach dude? It sounds like him." I was like, "Yeah, how'd you know?" He's like, "I don't know. It just sounds like him."
That's wild, man.
Yeah, man. So yeah, like, you're definitely recognizable, and that's saying a lot because I didn't like play your stuff around him a lot. Like, I showed him to you. I was like, "Hey, yeah, like, I DM'd this guy, whatever." He probably went through your page on his own time, but I guess enough that he could recognize you're playing from 10 seconds of listening to it on a
Man,
random evening. You know what I
that is
mean?
so humbling. Holy cow.
Yeah, dude. That
It's,
that means something.
it's just such a reminder. Like, I swear, man, I be dealing with imposter syndrome. I be like, dang, Zach, you trash.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just encouraging to hear it because it's like you just get lost in the sauce. You know, because I don't think music was supposed to be experienced in a vacuum. You
Mhm.
know, that's why. For those who don't know, I called Dion like what a couple weeks back, crying. No, I'm teasing. But I called him and I was just like,
I was like, "You weren't talking to me, bro."
I called him and was like, yo, man, like we need to get on a live and just start because you know, growing up, like music's supposed to be done in groups. It's supposed to be done together. Music
Mhm.
brings people together, right? You get these arena toy, it brings people together.
Yeah.
And you know, just getting back to that point, you just don't get a chance to interact and commune with other people through the algorithm
Right. Right.
unless you intentionally do something like this. So it's nice to hear because you just don't know. You don't know what's affecting people unless they comment. But
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, they just look at it and swipe. And so
That's right.
it's not that you're looking for the validation. You know, because I mean, I'm gonna play just because I love to play, but it's just nice to hear that kind of feedback of like, hey, you know, because it's like we were talking about in the last episode where like finding your lane as a creator versus a teacher versus a musician. So to hear that they love that sound, which is actually me, is really encouraging because just like a nice reminder of like, hey, just continue being you musically, and that'll
Right.
continue to pay that direction. So, and I appreciate. I had no idea. That's funny.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
man. Yeah, dude. Shout out to Musical Katana in the chat. Just saying what's up. Glad to
Oh,
have you on.
yes. Dude, this is
Yeah, man. So now both of us, Zach and myself alike, we have our experiences that have shaped us, that have shaped our sound, that have largely shaped what we want to contribute to the world of music. And so one of those things is, uh, creating businesses out of it, right? And so this is again, another one of those things where, for me, creating a music business, something that I can uh, earn income from, earn a living from, was one of my benchmarks for success, right? Can I create something that affects people in such a positive way that they're willing to spend money on it in whatever capacity, whether it's buying, you know, a piece of sheet music, a version of a hymn that I created into a jazz version, whatever. I'm gonna stream his stuff, right? Even just paying with your time, right? Like listening to this live, or listening to our reels on Instagram or wherever else. Like creating businesses out of our music. At least just speaking for myself, is a measure of my success. Zach, what about you? Like being a business owner, being a I don't want to say musician for hire, but that's the only thing that's coming to mind. Being a monetized musician, like how has that affected your life, whether positively or negatively? Well, let's focus on the positive, because we can always come up with a negative, right?
um, to be honest, I looked at it all as positive, even the negative sides, because I feel like
Yeah.
the negative sides really weren't negative; it was more of a challenge. And
Nice.
so, when I think about the quote unquote negative sides, the negative sides is just like finding your voice, figuring out what you want to do. But when I relook at that, like when you reframe it, that's actually a good thing because it
Hmm.
forces you to commit.
Yeah.
And so it was an uncomfortable process at times, but having to post every day,
Mm.
especially in those first, like having to build the brand, like all that was a quote unquote negative, but it was actually a positive because it teaches you the consistency and a different level. It forces you to be more than just a musician, which I
Yeah.
think is such an easy trap. Everyone just, I'm just a musician, and they lose. Oh, okay.
You're good.
And they, it's like they lose the. It's so easy to get stuck in. I'm just a musician. I have no other skill sets,
Yeah.
which is actually something else. I think that'd be great. Something else I want to talk about is like life outside of musician, uh,
Yeah.
because I think people don't realize that affects being a musician. Like I go for walks and runs every morning. I work out in the morning, and that's actually when I get most of my ideas is when I'm not
Mm.
even on the keyboard. So
Yeah.
you know that's a whole nother conversation. But the 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 way this has affected me, it's given me an opportunity to be an artist in a way that hasn't been possible in years prior. So as
Mm.
frustrating as social media can be, it has actually paved and given a way that just wasn't around prior to 2010. Because as a teacher, as an educator, you just couldn't build your own brand this way. You had to have a physical place and you had to have physical students, and all that had a cap. Whereas now, we have the ability as educators to reach an infinite amount of number of people, and since we're not confined to a building, it's like we can handle the numbers of that.
Right.
So for me, I feel like that's probably the biggest positive thing is I love to create, and I spent the last couple of years building the studio out, and like it's my favorite room in the house. It's where I loved it. It's like I'm always in it,
Hmm.
and it wouldn't be possible without the followers who trusted me to just be an influence to them in their musical journey, and even have a part into their growth and development, whether it's just from enjoying listening to me or wanting to learn from me, whatever capacity. So, um, in terms of successes and just how I view the positives, that's been a big thing for me. Just forcing me to figure out who I am in the music world. I think having the platform gave me the right incentive to say, okay, like there's a purpose of why you're doing this, versus just being kind of in your room by yourself.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. Uh, Even the things that many might see as a negative aspect can be turned into a positive. Everything, you should learn from everything. Like failure is one of the best teachers ever. It's definitely right up there, top three.
You only
uh,
get to have to go through it.
Man, like the thing about it is nobody likes to fail, but everybody does it. Everybody fails at something,
Right.
But the people that find the success are the ones that let the failure teach them something,
Right.
right?
They,
There is a lesson in every failure. Um,
I have a question for you.
yeah, go for it.
So, what do you feel like is one of your most influential failures? So, a failure that you felt like, man, if it wasn't for this failure, I would not have done X, Y, Z.
Man. Okay, I remember being. So I started taking piano lessons when I was 7, again, and I remember one of those earlier recitals. For those of you who used to go to recitals or you yourselves were in one, you know what a recital is. It's just a concert, just a performance, basically. But I remember it was probably my third year in to learning to play the piano that I was playing at this recital alongside other students under the same teacher. And for whatever reason, I guess I was nervous. I didn't feel like I was nervous. My heart wasn't beating fast or anything like that. But for whatever reason, my foot kept like doing this on the sustain pedal. Zach, I kid you not, from beginning to end of this like 3.5 minute Schumann piece or whatever it was, my foot's just doing this. Like I could not gain control. My hands were fine. I could play all the notes, all the chords, whatever, fine. But man, I had this like this tick, and it was super distracting. And I felt really bad after it. Like I let my teacher know, like I feel like that sucked. And she was like, no, like it you sounded not your best, right? Because of what was going on, and it was a distraction, but it was a learning experience, right? Now you know how to calm yourself. So man, since then, like I to this day, I I can think of moments where, oh, like I know certain people are in the audience, like there's a different level of pressure there. There's the thought of like, oh yeah, something could go wrong, but I'm not nervous. You know what I mean? So I'll say, yeah, it took that experience. It took that experience of nerves like manifesting themselves in a physical reaction to really help me get a hold of my nerves. That's how Zach's gonna greet me now.
What's up,
Every
D?
live. What's up, Dion? What's up, Rattlefoot? Yeah, man. It took that experience for me to really get a just get a grip on my nerves whenever something like that might feel like it's gonna happen. But yeah, man, I'd call that a necessary failure that has shaped so much of my success whenever I'm presenting music live. You know what I mean?
Right.
That was crucial. Let me turn the question back on you. What's a failure that you've experienced that you feel like has led to successes in another area later on in life?
Um, this is kind of a two-part failure. So remember back when Instagram would monetize and you could like get paid for just posting?
Mm-hmm.
So I never got invited to that program.
Okay.
And so it wasn't a failure on my part because that was just a platform switch thing.
Yeah.
But one of the best things that it did was that's actually the catalyst that made me want to start my own community
Nice.
because I wasn't able to be monetized or anything. And it's like, it's the other part of it is like I would put out content and I just wouldn't have the same audience reaction or engagement as like other counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
And so that forced me to really like take ownership and say, okay, you're gonna have to make it your own way. So had I been able to get monetized and had I had the engagement, I don't think I would have taken it as serious because I would have had like an easy way, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. But
Yeah.
because none of that was on the table, it really forced me to say, okay, you got to hit like you just got to hit above the belt
Mm-hmm.
all the time. And so it really forced me to create in a way. I remember my first year when I tried to do a community, it didn't go very well just because I didn't understand so much about what it means to have a community. So just the combination of that kind of first launch, the fact that I couldn't get monetized while everyone else was monetized, like just all that happening, it really like, okay, it made me kind of cut everything up from the bottom and say, okay, from this point on, I'm building this out of the passion for sharing because that's where I started. And then so I kind of went through this phase where I was trying to monetize, and I said, you know what, no, like do this because you love music, and that way the people who want to be there will be there.
Yeah.
So if I was able to get the kind of those low hanging fruits, I don't think I would have taken such massive and intentional and hard hitting steps to like really make something impactful
Mm,
now. So
dude, that's awesome.
trying to be like
That's a hard thing to overcome for a lot of people too, because
yeah.
man, especially when it comes to money and income and like the state of the world right now, definitely in America where we live, everybody who's watching internationally, definitely in America, like a lot of people are hurting financially. So when you see this opportunity that seems like it's a viable option for you to help supplement your income, and you're denied that opportunity, especially after working hard for it, you're like, man, like, well, why even try doing anything else? You know what I mean? That the temptation to say that and just kind of throw your hands up is definitely there. But again, let that failure be a teacher for you. Real quick, shout out to Donnie and Christian in the chat.
Yo
Christian,
yo.
you're talking from Brazil, man. Boa noite, boa noite. I don't
Hey.
know if I'm saying that right. Also, shout out to Layla and Bernard. Got all kinds of people coming from around the world. Greetings from Lima, Peru.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Buenas noches, Bernard. Bernard, soy de Miami y aquí hablamos en español y inglés. My first language is English, but by way of living in this city, we kind of are forced to learn Spanish as well.
Ah,
So,
listen, Pio. ¿Estás fluido?
conversacional.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, man. So anyway, okay, so now we're getting down to the wire here. We're gonna wrap up. So Zach, moving forward, right? You're several years into this music thing, as am I. What are if you can give us two things, not to put you on the spot here, but if you could give us two things, two kind of benchmarks that if you were to complete these things, that they would be marked as successes for you, what would those two things be?
Oh, that's good. I think that so right now I've been overhauling my community because I record a bunch of lessons, back when I first started, and then through obviously you grow and you have experience, you get better, right? So now I found my flow and rhythm as a teacher, so I'm going back and re-recording a bunch of stuff. So getting my community courses and everything like repackaged all the way will be a big success because then I can be like, okay, here's who I am as a musician, and you can watch these and walk away with that DNA.
Yeah.
And then the second thing I think is just simply serving more musicians. So I would love, to have like 180 students in my community. That'd be great. Um, just because then there's some things I could do with that in terms of giveaways and live events and stuff that I'd really love to do.
Right.
I really, really, really want to bring community for the modern day musician
Hmm.
because then that takes into account the fact that we're spread out and it takes into account social media.
Right.
So the more self-sustaining I can make it be, the better off I can serve. So I think the two things right now is just growing the community, and then the biggest thing is just being able to pour out my DNA into my revamped courses and community lesson videos. So that way people can really. It's the weirdest thing, D. You think it'd be obvious, but like I think the biggest thing missing from my community for a while was just me. And you're like, what do you mean? Like that should be the obvious thing. It's like I was present, but I didn't understand that like people loved my sound. I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
And so it finally clicked, like, Zach, stop trying to make what you think people are trying to learn. Like just make you and then teach people what you're doing. And it just took me forever to understand that because I'm like, oh, we gotta understand it. This is like, dude, just play your stuff
Yeah.
and then teach people how to play your stuff and leave it there. So I'm revamping a bunch of stuff and you know, but anyways, those are like the two things that are really really important to me right now that I'm really excited about and working hard on.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can kind of we get in our own heads and we get in our own way, man. like there's something to be said about just playing what you enjoy, um, and whoever wants to listen will listen. Whoever wants to learn from it will learn. They'll come. You know what I mean? We live in this digital age where we can get our practice session across the world in a matter of seconds. You know what I mean? Like the opportunity to connect with people around the world is easier now than it ever has been. I guess I'll answer the question myself too. What are two things that um, would be a measure of success for me, or two goals that I might have? I have a long-term goal of composing for a composing an entire film score for a full, hour and a half, 2 hour film. All right, like that is a huge goal for me. Um, I know people who are living in LA and they are still in their 20s and they're doing that. Not to say that there's a time limit on it, or like I'm past the successful age. No, I'm just saying that to say that it can be done now today. So that would be if I can do that, that'd be a huge success for me. A second thing, similar to you, Zach, not to plagiarize or bite off you, like I really do want to serve as many musicians as I can, right? Like my big thing is uh, getting people fluent on the instrument, right? By whatever means, right? I want these people who are at this place of, hey, I love this instrument. I want to be better at it. That's the type of person that I want to serve, right? Now whether or not you want to sell out concert halls in Austria, or if you want to just be able to play for grandma and grandpa at Christmas time, like that's who I want to serve. You know what I mean? So that would be a huge measure of success for me. If I had to put a number on it, man, I'm at like a 60-person community right now, and I would love to get it to 600. Let's shoot big.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So everybody, Zach over at Saucy Sounds, he's got an amazing community. I've been following along with him for about 3 years now. If you've been following me, you know about my website's offerings. We do the one-on-one thing, we do the group thing. We've got the pre-recorded courses. So whatever you jive with, guys, between the two of us, we can help you out, or at the very least point you in the right direction. So if that's what you're looking for, you got options. Everybody, it was such a joy getting to talk with you in English and Spanish. Just having fun here with Zach. Y'all, we're going to try to do this frequently. Zach's going to try to convince me to do this every week. I'm not sold on it just yet, but if you do want to see more of us, you know how to find us, everybody.
Chat. You gotta look. You gotta show up, so he has no choice.
That's right. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.